In this lecture, we are going to cover how to create your own table on the database using migrations, and we're going to continue our example of the contacts page. So here we have from the previous lectures our contacts page, and what we want to do here now is that we want to create a contacts table inside the database. So here we want to have a contacts table. So how do we do that? So the first thing we have to do is we have to go into the project folder and we have to execute php artisan make migration, and then here it's important the way we're going to name the file, because the way you name the file tells PHP Laravel how it should create the migration code. And then if you don't like it, you can change it, but let's start by saying something like create contacts table, for example. Press enter. Okay, now it has created the file here in this URL, and we're going to go in our code editor and we're going to open it. It's right here. As you can see, it has created code so that we create a contacts table. In here it's gonna have a ID, and then it's just gonna have a column that says timestamp. Here we're going to add more columns, but right now we just want to run it. We just want to run it and make sure that it's running properly. So the migrations in Laravel are divided in two. So you can either do up, which is going to basically create the table and run this code, or you can go down, and what it's going to do is that it's going to downgrade the migration and it's going to run this code. So right now let's just run it to see if it worked. So the way to run it would be php artisan migrate. Now you can see it has created the contacts table. If we go into our database and we refresh, now we have the contacts table. So here we have our contacts table, in which it created the column ID, created at, and updated at. So now we have to create some columns. Actually, let's explore the downgrade command. So that would be, so we're going to do php artisan migrate rollback. So what just happened is that it's going to run the downgrade function, which is going to drop the contacts table. So now let's go into the database, let's refresh, and as you can see, the contacts table is gone. Okay, so we need two new columns in our database, one a contact name and one a contact age. So basically we need like a string and a numeric type. How do we add that here? Basically the way to do it is we're going to copy this line, and here after timestamp we're going to add string type, and here we're going to call it contact name, for example. And then we're going to copy similar line, and here we're going to call it integer, and here we're going to call it contact age. So this is going to create two new columns, and remember we downgraded this migration, so this migration doesn't exist on the database. So we are going to now run it, and it should create us the two columns. And just to be sure, let's see if in here we name it the same, contact name, contact age. You want to maintain the names of the variables uniform so that it's easier to track it. So you name it the same on the column name as you would the variable name on the code, so it's easy to track. So now let's run php artisan migrate. Now it created a contacts table, and it created it, let's see, refresh, it created it with our new two columns. Now let's check out the structure in here. In the structure we can see that the contact name is a varchar. By default, the Laravel knows that it should create for mysql type varchar when we name it string, and it did properly with the integer. So this is the beauty of Laravel. We could have been using Postgre or any other database that they support, and we don't have to worry about what is the syntax, where is the data type, because all we do is that we declare string here and integer here, so it doesn't matter which database that you're using. So this is beautiful. Now we want to insert this data on the database. We want to save it and we want to insert it on the database. So how we would do that? So let's review so far what our code does. The first thing, let's run the server. Serve. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, now we're going to put here something and something and add contact. Once we do that, what's happening is that first of all, on the route, add contact is going to go into this context controller, which is the one that the form sends. So if we open the view, you can see the view on the form action is sending us to this URL. This URL is going to send us to the context controller, and it's going to execute this function. So we go into the context controller and we execute this function, which right now all it's doing is that it's validating the data and then it's just returning a success message, but it's really not inserting the data into the database. So in this area, we basically want to insert the data on the DB. To insert the data on the database, first we need to create the model of the contacts. So in here we have a folder, the models, and we need to create a contacts model. So how do we do that? We go into the terminal, stop the server for a moment, let's clear it out. PHP artisan make model and then contact. Let's make it capital, contacts. So now it has created the models contacts. Let's go now into the models folder, and here you can see it has all the things necessary for us to just initiate a model and use it. Now we're going to go into the controller, and basically we are going to insert the contact name and the contact age. So how can we do that? Basically, so the first thing we have to do is that here we have to include the model. So basically we're going to do model, we're going to do app slash model slash contacts, and now we are going to initiate the model, we are going to call the contacts new contacts. Then we're going to do, actually let's name it contact because it's a single contact, and let's now put contact name, which would be the name of the database column, and then equals to this, and then we can just remove this line. And now we're going to do the same but with the age. And then we can remove this. So basically this is initiating the contact model. Now here we assign 2 attributes, and now we need to save it. So we're going to do a save, and pretty much that's it. In a very short and easy way, we should be able to save the contact name and the age on the database. So let's try it out. Let's first start the server. Let's refresh just in case. Now here on the name, we're gonna put name 1, and on the age we're gonna put 15 years of age. We're gonna add the contact. We get a success message, and now let's see if it was inserted in the database. So going back into the contacts table in the database, as you can see, now we have inserted our contact name and our contact age. So now let's insert a couple more, say name 2, age 20, let's go back, name 3, age 50. All right, now let's refresh our data. And as you can see, we have 3 new rows in our database in our contacts table. So this is pretty much in a nutshell how you can insert the data. If we want to see the statuses of the migration, we can do something like PHP artisan migrate status, and it's going to show us which migrations have been ran, so that we don't have to go and consult the database to see if the changes have been done. We can see it here with this PHP artisan migrate status.